The Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change honors Dr. Christine King Farris for her years of service and sacrifice. Mrs. Farris was born to the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and Mrs. Alberta Williams King. Dr. Farris is the older sister of Martin Luther King Jr. and A.D. Williams King. Dr. Farris graduated from Spelman College and later received her Master of Arts degree from Columbia University with a concentration in the social foundations of education. Mrs. Farris loved teaching. Her educational leadership has been a significant contribution to the academic mission of the King Center.
Her teachings helped me to understand that with multicultural education, the more people understand each other's culture, the better they can relate. And the more people can relate, the better we can get along.
She dedicated herself to ensuring that her brother's life and teachings would never be forgotten by being intricately involved with the planning, operation, and growth of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change.
Regardless of all of the other things that she's had to do, from television production to construction contracts to learning about actuaries and finance and all of this stuff, Ms. Farris is a teacher.
In the early 70s, Dr. Farris founded 2 preschool education programs. Those programs were for poor working mothers who could not afford to pay for child care. The first center was the Martin Luther King Jr. Child Development Center in the Capitol Homes Housing Project. The second program was the Martin Luther King Jr. Early Learning Center, which was a part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change. Those programs were very instrumental in teaching children about the life and work of Dr. King and his nonviolent philosophy.
She helped the King Center to organize, design, and develop a nonviolent conflict resolution training program. The King Center is blessed to have benefited from the service of Dr. Christine King Farris, my aunt.
She was also instrumental in the development of the National Historic Site and Preservation District, which attracts nearly 1 million visitors from all over the world each year.
You know, a movement is very much like an iceberg. You see the top, but the real power and the force is always underwater. Part of that underwater foundation for the civil rights movement, a major part of it, is Christine King Farris. And this wonderful center would not be here without her stabilizing influence. Through many dangers, toils, and snares we have already come. But it was not only Amazing Grace, it was Amazing Christine, who has always been a steadying force and helping us to keep going in the right direction.
After the death of Dr. King, Mrs. Farris was an unwavering source of support and encouragement to Mrs. Coretta Scott King in the creation of the King Center and Dr. King's national holiday.
She had a tremendous work ethic, and that was something that I greatly admired. She and Mrs. King both. Tremendous. I mean, it was just, you don't see work ethics like that too much now. But in it, she was there to lead, so we followed.
Today and every year, Dr. King's teachings are more and more common knowledge, not only in the United States, but around the world, is a great credit to Mrs. Farris.
We will continue to do our bit in terms of spreading the message of peace and nonviolence as espoused by Gandhi and King. And the most important part is all these things would not have been possible. We would not be able to do these things if we did not have the inspiration and the guidance from Ms. Christine King Farris.
Mrs. Farris is the author of several books: My Brother Martin, Martin Luther King, His Life and Dream, March On, and Through It All. She is the recipient of more than a dozen major honors and awards, including the Image Award for Outstanding Literary Work.
I think her legacy will be loyalty. loyalty to the work of Dr. King and loyal to the family he left behind.
If there was ever a lady that walked the face of the earth who exemplifies and personifies what it means to be a lady in the most profound and deepest sense of the term, it is Christine Farris.
Mom Farris is truly a lady who brings it from the bottom all the way to the top, to that hat.
Mrs. Farris has been married to Isaac Newton Farris Sr. for 53 loving years. She is also the mother of 2 children, Isaac Newton Farris Jr. and Angela Christine Farris Watkins, and she has 1 grandchild, Farris Christine Watkins.
She had food on the table on time. She made sure that Isaac and I were where we needed to be, and that included extracurricular activities. And she did all that she did with her work at Spelman.
No question, my aunt, Coretta Scott King, has been the biggest, best proliferer of my uncle's dream and legacy. But with all the great things that she did, I can truly tell you she could not have done it without my mother. And if she were here, she would tell you that.
So she has really been a rock.
Of course, being the matriarch of our family, I've watched that and how many hats she has to put on, literally and metaphorically, just to deal with everyday life, and she does that so well, so well.
Mrs. Farris continues to provide annual leadership for 2 of the King Center's outstanding programs. The Salute to Greatness Dinner is held during the King Holiday Observance Weekend. It celebrates individuals and corporate entities that have been of outstanding service to humanity. Mrs. Farris is also the heart and soul of the Martin Luther King Jr. Commemorative Service, which is held at historic Ebenezer Baptist Church on the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
And how do you think you've made it this far?
Well, with those who were behind me and taught me, to have faith. And as my dad used to say, keep looking up.
Dr. Christine King Farris is the King Center's first Distinguished Legacy of Service recipient.